Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to Blue Jay Acres. My name is Noelle. Thank you so much for stopping by. Today is day 9 of our pantry challenge. So as far as actual meals, I'm not really gonna make any today. We still have a lot of leftovers from yesterday, so they'll eat the breakfast we're about to make, which also kind of just doubles as snacks, and I want to send some back with Brooke. So I take her back up to the school today. I need to get some bone broth started. So I just have some odds and ends I need to do in the kitchen. So I thought I would share that with you guys today. And if I can get to it, I also need to can up some of my jalapenos. So I'm gonna try and get that going today as well. I am feeling better today. Still nauseous and probably won't eat, but good enough to do some cooking today. So let's get started. All right, so the first thing we're gonna make is some apple fritter bread. We've got 3 peeled and chopped apples here. I'm gonna go on and put some in a bowl over here because we're gonna top our bread with that. And then the other bowl we're gonna wanna add a half a cup of brown sugar. So of course, you know me, that means it's a half a cup of sugar and a splash of molasses. That's my brown sugar. Well, this is gonna be good. Actually, I think I'm gonna put a little more molasses and do more of like a dark brown sugar because that'll taste really good in this bread. Molasses goes so good with all the fall yumminess. An overflowing teaspoon of cinnamon. Can never have too much cinnamon in fall yumminess. A half a teaspoon of ginger. And then we are going to just stir this all up. Get that all good and coated. This is going to go inside of our bread. Then I'm going to add 1 large egg, 1/3 a cup of white sugar, 1/4 a cup of oil. I'm using avocado oil, but you can use any vegetable oil you want. So I'm going to add that in. Then it calls for 1/4 a cup of sour cream, full fat. I don't have sour cream. So we're gonna do 1/4 a cup of yogurt. You can always replace unsweetened regular yogurt, Greek yogurt, for sour cream in recipes. Then I'm also gonna add a little bit of vanilla. We're gonna stir this up, and then we're gonna add our dry ingredients after we get this all mixed up. You guys, you just don't understand. If you don't use vanilla bean powder, it smells amazing, and the taste is so much better than vanilla extract. And it lasts a really long time, so it's a little bit more expensive, but it lasts way longer than vanilla extract. All right, that's ready. I'm gonna add 1 cup of flour, 1 teaspoon of baking soda. Then we're gonna do a half teaspoon of salt. Now our oven is preheated to 350 degrees, if I didn't already say that. And then we are going to bake this for about 50 minutes to an hour. So just get this all mixed in. All right, now we're gonna add our yummy apples here. And you just gently want to kind of fold them in best you can. That's looking good. Now let's get our pan. Comes together pretty fast and easy. Then you want to grease your pan. I'm just using butter. You can use non-stick spray if that's what you like to use or have. Good morning, baby. I'm making apple fritter bread and pumpkin bread.
Oh, yum.
I know, since I'm back to school with you. I'll make you coffee in just a minute. And then we're just going to pour this into our loaf pan. Grab my spatula real quick. Then I'm just going to top it with some of these apples that we saved. And this gets popped in the oven just like that. Alright, next we're going to make some pumpkin bread as well. So let me wash these dishes so we can just reuse them, and then we'll start this pumpkin bread. Alright, so the first thing we're going to do is our pecan topping for our apple, or for our pumpkin. Now you could either make this into 2 loaves, or you can just put it in like a baking dish like I'm going to do and make it more of a, like a coffee cake versus a bread. That's up to you. I don't have 3 loaf pans right now to use. I'm sure I do somewhere, but I think I sent a couple with Ash. I gave so much of my kitchen stuff away to my girls to take with them to college, so I'm making do with what I have. So I'm going to do a baking sheet, or a baking pan, you know, just 9 by 13 instead. So that's up to you, but we're going to make the topping here that's going to go on top. So we've got about 3/4 of a cup of chopped pecans. I'm going to add about 1/4 a cup of flour to this. And we want to add about 3/4 a cup of brown sugar. Again, I'm doing my brown sugar with, and again, I'm going to do more of a dark brown sugar. Molasses and pumpkin go together like peanut butter and jelly. Then I have 1/4 a cup of butter here. I'm going to go on and put that and melt it. Alright, that is mostly melted. I'm going to stir this all together and just set it aside. Make sure I get all that good molasses in there. I do not want to waste that molasses. Alright, that's our topping. Again, the oven's set at 350 degrees, and this will be down below for you as well. Our yummy batter. So I'm going to start with 4 eggs. A can of pumpkin. This is just plain pumpkin, not pumpkin pie seasoning. There's no sugar or anything, or spices or anything in that. I'm going to add a cup of sugar. And then it calls for 1/2 cup of brown sugar. So there's our brown sugar. Our vanilla. We're going to do 2/3 cup of oil, vegetable oil, or I'm using avocado oil. Okay, I'm going to go on and stir all this together first. And then we'll get our flour and spices and all that good stuff going. Alright, now all the magic, the spices. So I'm gonna add nutmeg, fresh grated nutmeg. Tastes so much better. You really do notice the difference. So I always try to use that. 1.5 teaspoons of cinnamon. 1/2 teaspoon of cloves. 1/4 teaspoon of ginger. 1 teaspoon of pumpkin pie spice. 1/2 teaspoon of salt. 1 1/4 teaspoon baking powder. 1/2 teaspoon baking soda. Then we're gonna just stir this up. Get all the spices in there really good. Then we're gonna add our flour and we'll put it in our dish. I don't always do it this way, mix my spices in with all the wet, but when I'm using that many spices, I don't want big chunks anywhere of spices. So I'd rather mix it all in with my wet. I know a lot of people mix it with their dry. This is just the way I like to prefer to do it because I don't like to use so many bowls. Then we're going to go with 2 cups of flour. So there's 1, 2. Now if you were doing the loaf pans, this would cook for 50 minutes to an hour, but we're not going to do loaf pans, so it should cook shorter. So I'm going to check it in about 30 minutes. And then we'll go from there. Alright, so here I'm just gonna start with the melted butter. This just came out of the dishwasher, so it's actually all nice and hot, so this butter's just melting all over. Just grease your pan however you want to grease it. I just like to use melted butter. Then we're going to put in all of our good batter. Smells so good. Smells like pumpkin pie. Alright, just spread that out. Or like I said, just put it into 2 loaf pans, however you want to do it. And then I'm just going to do our crumb topping. And now this is ready for the oven as well. Alright, now while that's going, we're going to go on and start our bone broth. I like to do my bone broth for about 20 hours in the crock pot. Very simple to put together, and I'll just show you how I do it real quick. And then I have to go hang some clothes on the line. It was asked about why am I not fixing my dryer or whatever. So Kim, we just don't have the time right now. We don't pay for repair people. Charles fixes everything, and he has the parts, but he thinks it's the heating element, and he's got the stuff for it. But, well, the first thing he thought, and he changed it, it didn't work. It still was just blowing cold air. So now he's got, or he's going to change his other parts, but we just haven't had time. And I told him that's last on my list, because right now it doesn't hurt me to go out and hang clothes on the line. It's more important than a million other things we need to get done. So I will have a dryer eventually. He's already got the parts. He just needs a couple hours to go fix it. So that's where we are with that. All right, let's start this bone broth real quick. Okay, so the first thing I'm gonna use is I use 2 carcasses. Now I showed you guys a couple videos back how to piece out a chicken, how to, you know, take a whole chicken, make sure that you get your breasts and your thighs and your legs and your wings and get all the pieces. It is usually cheaper to buy a whole chicken. I know most of the people that watch me are on a tight budget. We are on a tight budget as well. And definitely it is cheaper to do it that way. And not only that, but if you buy, say, 4 chickens, piece them out and put them in your freezer, then you have carcasses ready to go to make your own bone broth. And it tastes so much better than store-bought. It's really nothing to it. It's also a great way to use up all your scraps. So from cutting up your onions, you can use your onion peels, your garlic peels, you can use your carrot tops, your celery tops. It's a great way to use all that, not to mention all the benefits that go with the bone broth. And again, it's very hands-off. Let's put it together. We're gonna strain it tomorrow, tomorrow, because I do it for 20 hours. We'll strain it tomorrow. And then it's just in the fridge, and I use it throughout the week to make soups, to make gravies, to make just whatever I need bone broth or chicken broth for. And what I did last week, because I still had some left over, is then I just freeze it in ice cubes. And then you have ice cubes in the freezer ready to go of bone broth if you just need a small amount of broth. The other thing I do is if I have a lot of extra carcasses, because we butcher our own chickens, we do typically have a lot of carcasses, I can a bunch of bone broth as well. So, but fresh is always best. So let's whip up some bone broth and you will see how easy this really is. My carcasses, now when I bag these, I like to bag them with 2 carcasses in a bag because I know that's what I'm going to use.
Yeah, I got all the lumber cuts to the end. So I have the lumber cuts to go, but I got to find the circular saw, the cut saw.
And the other thing is when I do my carcasses, I like to leave a little extra meat on them. So when I showed you guys how to piece them out, I showed where the chicken tenderloin is. I usually just leave that on, and there's like a little piece that you can get for the chicken thigh to the back of the chicken. I like to just leave it on. It just adds so much more flavor. Also, all the skin and all the stuff that you cut off to make the skinless, boneless breasts, the little wing tips, all of that I like to put in my carcass. So I've got all that going. I had a couple feathers I had to grab real quick. I have all that going that way in this bone broth, and you're getting all the goodness from all that, all the collagen and all the goodness. Next thing I do is some bay leaves, and yes, I buy a huge bulk of bay leaves. I'm gonna do 3 off Amazon. I get it in a great big thing in bulk. Lasts forever. I also like to add some whole peppercorns. Remember, I will be straining this, so you won't get all of that in your broth. I've got my bag out of the freezer here that has little bits of onion and a few little bits of carrot. I'm also gonna add some celery tops, a little bit more carrot, some garlic. Ooh, that was a lot. It'll be extra garlicky. I like to add a good bit of salt. I'm also going to add a little bit of our rosemary, some of my thyme. I'm going to add a little rubbed sage. Now, I don't do this all the time. Sometimes I leave it very basic and I leave all these herbs out, other than bay leaves. But I'm going to use it as a chicken broth, you know, and chicken flavored things and fall flavored things. So I want it to taste of all of that goodness right there. I'm also going to add a splash of apple cider vinegar. That just helps to release all the collagen. And then with some filtered water, I'm going to cover this. I just get this out of our Berkeley filter. All right, then that's it. I'm gonna put this on low, and in 20 hours, so it's 11, so I don't know, just sometime tomorrow morning, around 20-ish hours, I will strain this and it will be ready to go and use. So how you know your bone broth is like at its potential and it's done as much as it can do for you is when I find that takes about 20 hours in the crock pot. You can definitely make it on the stove. You can make it in the oven. I prefer to do the crock pot because I can do it while I sleep. I can just have it going while I'm doing whatever throughout my day. It does not interfere with anything I'm doing. I just live my life and it does all the work for me. But you know, because when you take your bones the next day, and if you just give them a little squeeze, they should crumble. The bones should just crumble apart. If your bones are still hard and you can't just squeeze them and they crumble apart, or they're pliable, then it needs to go a lot longer. It's not ready at all. So that's how you get all the good bone marrow and everything else that makes the bone broth so beneficial for you. You get all that out of there by cooking it so long that everything literally is just crumbling apart. So I will show you that tomorrow when we check that. I'm going to go real quick and do my laundry, and then when I get back, we are going to make 2 coffee syrups for the fall yumminess, fall/winter yumminess. My kids love to make lattes, and they love if I have some flavored syrup, which I typically only do in the holidays and in the cold season. Otherwise, we just kind of use spices and throw it in our milk and our sugar. But it's nice to have the syrups ready to go, and they can put it in hot chocolate or, you know, whatever they want. Or just have steamed milk, flavored steamed milk, which is also wonderful. So we will make those 2 syrups for you, or for the kids, and you can see how we make them here as soon as I'm done with this laundry. So we're gonna start with the pot. Right now, I really need a pot in between sizes too. I gave all that stuff to Ash, but it's okay. She uses it more, you know, needs it more than I do, because I can make do with what I have, because I've been cooking for so long, but she has not. So it's better for her to have the right sizes of everything. All right, so we are gonna start with the pumpkin. I have a can of pumpkin already still in my fridge anyway. I needed to use. It's from when we made pumpkin muffins not long ago. So we're gonna add about 1/4 cup, you know, ish. I'll add a little bit more. All these measurements are just kind of do it with your heart. If you like extra pumpkin-y, get it extra pumpkin-y. You can strain this as well. Make sure there's no little pulp of the pumpkin. I don't care about that, so I don't worry about that. All right, I will give you measurements, but again, I just kind of throw it together when I'm doing it. I don't really measure so much. But you want about 1/2 teaspoon of cinnamon, but honestly, I'm gonna do more like 3/4 teaspoon because we like a lot of cinnamon. You're gonna do about 1/2 teaspoon of ground ginger. If you're gonna strain it and you have fresh ginger and wanna grate that in, then go for it. I'm sure that tastes even better. About 1/4 teaspoon of cloves. That I do stick to about that much because cloves are definitely strong. Alright, then we're gonna add some nutmeg. Got roughly 1/4 teaspoon of nutmeg. We're gonna add about 3/4 cup of sugar. There's a 1/2. Just a hair bit more. Now, I also like to add a little bit of molasses, or you could just add brown sugar. The recipe actually calls for white sugar. But you guys, molasses just goes with pumpkin. It's so good. I just love it. All right, then we're gonna just stir this up, and we're gonna heat this before we add any water. We are gonna add a cup of water to this as well. We're gonna heat this up so that the pumpkin doesn't taste so much like raw pumpkin. Kind of like how we heat up the flour so it doesn't have a raw flour taste. We're gonna heat up this pumpkin just for a minute. Then at the end of this, you can add some vanilla if you want, but I'm going to go on and add my vanilla now. Since I used the dried vanilla bean powder, I don't worry about, there's no alcohol in it. And because of the alcohol, that's why you add it later in your recipes. So if you wanted to add vanilla, just add a drop of vanilla at the end once you take it off the heat. Okay, but again, we're just gonna cook this up just for a minute. I need to remove my little coffee maker. If you guys haven't ever used one of these coffee makers, I got it off Amazon. I'll try and find a link. It makes the best espresso coffee. That's all we ever use is this. Steamed milk, add some spices, or some homemade syrup. You got the best lattes that ever was. And I just used organic dark roast coffee beans that I grind up. Nothing fancy. Alright. So this is heating up. Once this is just heated nice and through, I'm going to let it go for about a minute. I've got a cup of water here. Just filtered water that I'm going to add. We always use filtered water out here. I didn't used to always use it at my other house, but out here, the water turns yellow all the time, like it's got rust and stuff in it. It's not well water. We're on city water, but the water out here, I just don't think it's very good. So everything we do is with filtered water. All right, so that is pretty much heated through. It's been about a minute. I'm gonna add my water now, and this is gonna come up to a boil. And then we're gonna let this just boil for a few minutes, or you can put it on a simmer, and we want it to turn into a syrup. So we wanna cook it down a little bit. While that one's going, I'm gonna put together my other one, and I'll just put it back here. My gingerbread. All right, before we start that real quick, the breads came out. There's the pumpkin, there's the apple. I'll share that with you guys here in a minute. They're out of the oven, look divine. Let's make the one back here. Just occasionally stir your syrups, but we'll go on and start this gingerbread syrup as well. So the gingerbread syrup is 3/4 cup of brown sugar. But you're also going to add 3 tablespoons of molasses. So I'm just going to do about 3.5 tablespoons of molasses. When I run out of this, I have a big gallon jug of molasses. That's how much I love it. But I'm not going to open it today. You also want to add a cup of sugar or a cup of water to this. So I'm going to pour that into my molasses here, and I'm going to shake this up so I can get all that molasses out of there. Also, you see I'm starting to boil here. You guys make sure you stir. Sugar boils over really fast. So just keep a little watch on it. Turn it down a little bit so it doesn't boil over. Even in a big pot. That's why it would fit in my small pot, but I don't do it because it's going to boil everywhere. Alright, so your cup of water. We're going to add a teaspoon of ginger. It's gingerbread, so it does have the ginger kick. A teaspoon of cinnamon. You're going to add vanilla, but I'm going to add it now. You guys would add it at the end if you're using a vanilla extract because of the alcohol. You'll do it after it's done. And you remove it from the heat. Then we're also going to add a 1/4 teaspoon of allspice. I'm using Jamaican allspice. Funny thing is, I used to think allspice was a mix of ingredients of different spices, and that's how you got allspice. But it's actually its own spice. Just like nutmeg or anything else, it grows as a spice, and it's its own thing. I thought that was really cool because I did not know that. And that's it for back here. Now this is ready to be stirred, and then we're going to let this as well cook down until it becomes a syrup. And just kind of break it all up. I've got it on high. It'll come to a boil. Oh, I forgot my nutmeg. Oops, gotta add the nutmeg. About a 1/4 teaspoon of nutmeg. I always do nutmeg with my heart. Some people don't like the flavor of nutmeg that much, but I love it. I really do love all the spices, all the warm, cozy spices of fall. Even though I already miss summer dearly, I do like all the warm spices. And let that come to a boil. It's a great way to put moisture in the house as well. The winter gets so dry, running the heat and stuff. We've actually had to put our heat on at night. I only run it at night until December, and then I run it all the time. I try to do 6 months out of the year where we barely run any heat or air conditioning. It just saves so much money, and I don't know. I like the house to be aired out as much as possible. I'm going to switch, I think, to my whisk with this because these spices are kind of clumping. I got my 2 trivets. I'm going to set these down because I will remove this from the heat when it starts thickening up, but I'm going to let it cool a little bit before I pour it into my glass mason jars because I do not want it to break my jars. Now for the apple bread, you guys, there is a glaze you can make, just brown sugar, powdered sugar, milk, a little vanilla, and drizzle it over the top. I am not, because I just don't think it'll need all that. I think it'll be plenty sweet by itself. But you can if you want to. Oh, it smells so good. Between the breads and these syrups, my house smells like a fall harvest. It is so good. It smells so good. Now I know this one is Brooke's favorite, the pumpkin, so I will probably send some of that with her as well. I try to make her like her own little HelloFresh bags that I make at home for her, so she can just throw stuff in a crock pot or whatever. So she doesn't have to buy all the big ingredients. She kind of tells me what she's feeling like, and I put it together in bags ready to go. But she doesn't want anything this week. She still has some like Greek chicken she wanted to make last week that she didn't get to, so she's still got that, and she'll be home again next weekend. So I don't need to make her up anything. She eats pretty basic. Ash, on the other hand, I send ingredients because she just bakes all the time. You guys can see that her best friend sent me this picture because I made these years ago, little Jack Skeleton pies, like pumpkin pie, or what do you call them? Pot pies. We did like a movie themed dinner, and I had done spectacular Halloween stuff. I always tried to do stuff, you know, extra special for the kids when they were younger. And she remembered me doing that. That means something to me, you know. So she sent me those pictures, her best friend did, and said, she's the best cook in the house. And she said that I was her inspiration for that because she remembered me making those, and that everybody thought they were so cool looking. So I'm so proud of her. Alright, you guys, so my first syrup is done, the one in the front here. So you can see how that's looking, if you can tell. It's not crazy thick, because I don't want it crazy thick, but see how it's coating the bottom of the pan? So as it cools, it will definitely be a good size syrup, or a good syrup. The back one still has to go a little longer. It's not ready yet. The gingerbread. So I'm going to move this off the heat. Alright, and now if you can see this one, that's done too. This is going to be thicker even. This gingerbread syrup is done as well. So I'm going to remove this from the heat, and then I'm going to get Charles to do a taste test for you guys on the apple bread. Alright guys, so the pumpkin turned out bomb. I did take a little taste. I can't do any more than that. I can't stomach it. But the apple, alright. I tried a new recipe. I don't even know that I'm going to link it. tastes fine. I have made apple fritter bread many times and I have a wonderful recipe. I should just followed it. Sometimes I like just try something new and switch it up. And it's just all right. But Charles will try it for you. But the pumpkin, on the other hand,
Pumpkin bread more.
Brooke's saying she likes the pumpkin bread more too. If you can see the pumpkin, it turned out so good. Very good. The only thing I would say about the pumpkin is this a little sweeter than probably I would like. Again, I just tried 2 new recipes. I've made the syrups before. They're wonderful. But if you're having a nice cup of coffee with the pumpkin bread, then it tastes really good. And I don't know, the apple, I've made some killer apple bread. So I'll have to remake apple bread for you guys because I think the recipe is actually even already on our website. I'll have to look and see. But if it is, then follow that one because it's really, really good. And it's the same basic thing. Just measurements are a little different.
What you got for me?
All right. Try it, apple bread. But you know I've made apple fritter bread before and it's so much better. I have a really, really good recipe. Can't remember if it's on the website or not. Not a huge fan of this one. What do you think? It's way more dense. I like it more fluffy.
I like the dense. It's very much so caramelized, like on the outside edges.
Yeah, I'm not crazy about how that happened either.
Yeah, but it works.
Oh, it's still good. I mean, it's edible and everything. It's not like it's yuck. It's just not my favorite.
I'm gonna tell you right now, I could eat the whole loaf.
I know.
It's good.
Good. You gonna try the pumpkin?
No.
You won't do it. Not even for you guys. All right. I'll see you guys in just a bit.
Not a pumpkin fan.
No, you're not. All right, you guys. First, I just want to start by saying I was wrong about the apple bread. My family loved it. I'll put that recipe in the description down below. It'll be on the website. Guys, our website, if it ever is filled with ads or anything, just let me know because I cannot stand that. And it should not be. There might be some ads like down the side. It just helps us to earn a little bit of money, but the website itself should be super simple. Just you click on the recipe. As soon as you click on the website, it says recipes. You just click on recipes, click on the one that you want, and hit print. And that's it, because I wanted it to where I would want to use it. And I cannot stand all that other stuff. So that will be on there as well. Now, I'm going to start working with the jalapenos. I got a bunch in my sink. I just started washing them. And I'm going to use, I can't find gloves anywhere. I thought I had some gloves, and I don't. And it will burn your fingers. So I'm going to use this to hold it. I'm going to look very goofy here for a minute, but that's all right. And I think we're going to start off with the Cowboy candy. I'm going to do that, and then we'll see if I can get the pickled jalapenos today. I doubt it because I need to get that canned and get Brooke off back to college. So I'm probably only going to get half my jalapenos done. We'll see what happens. But let's get going on that. So to start, all I do is take my jalapeno and I'm going to cut the tip off. I feed that to my chickens. They like spicy. Well, they actually don't taste spicy, but the spiciness will help keep worms and stuff, like deworm them. And I'm still touching. I'm going to end up with raw fingers. All right. So anyway, I'm just going to do this. I thought this might work, but I don't think it's going to work. Sadly. Maybe Charles knows. I thought we had some gloves. So that's it. I'll be back after I get all this done. All these chopped up. Nothing much to see, I guess, right here. Alright, so we are going to do this water bath canning. And if you have never canned before, or you're newer to canning, or even if you've been canning forever, you guys, I love my electric canner. And this is a perfect project for it, especially since I have to leave. I don't have to stand and wait forever for the water to heat on the stove. I don't have to sit and babysit it. I just get to leave. That's it. It's so easy. It makes canning as easy as crock pots make cooking easy. It really, really does. It even tells you step by step what to do on the little digital thing. So on our next canning, because I'm kind of rushing today, so probably do pickled jalapenos in the morning. Wasn't going to do it tomorrow, but I probably will. I will go through step by step what you do with the digital canner because it is so easy to use. But we're gonna go on and make this. Now, another thing I do is when I make Cowboy candy, and Charles did find me a glove, by the way. Yay, my hands are safe. When I make Cowboy candy, I always can any of the leftover syrup that you're gonna make, because let me tell you, that is like liquid gold. It is so good. You can put it in a roast when you're making a roast. You can put it in a teriyaki or a barbecue sauce when you're making that. It just has so much good flavor. It tastes really, really good. So I do highly recommend you can your remaining syrup as well. You need about 4 pounds for this recipe of chopped up jalapenos, sliced up, ready to go. So I've got those here. I do have probably at least another 4 pounds to go through that we will turn into pickled jalapenos. But now on the stove here, it will come together pretty quick. In the electric canner, I already have all my pints going, getting warm. It does all the warming and everything for you. We're gonna start with 3 cups of vinegar. I'm using apple cider vinegar, but you could use white vinegar as well. It just needs to be, let's see, what does it say? A 5% acidity. So we're gonna add 3 cups of the vinegar. All right, we're gonna do 4 cups of sugar. Two teaspoons of salt. Okay, real quick about salt. So when you're canning, you have to use a salt without an anti-caking agent. My brain. So I use Redmond's real salt, or I use pink Himalayan salt. You can use sea salt. You can get some just at the store, because a lot of times pickling salt is out and you don't need a specific pickling salt. But you do have to look at the back and read your ingredients, because if it says with anti-caking agents, then you cannot use that for canning. So that's up to you on which kind of salt you want. It's not that expensive if you just buy the Morton salt. You know, it's right next to it, but it says sea salt, and you just make sure that's the only ingredient on the back. I've done that many times, and it's not very expensive to do it that way. The Redmond's real salt can get expensive. All right, then we're gonna do 6 cloves of garlic minced, or you can slice it up. For this, I don't like to use the jarred garlic if I'm canning. I don't honestly know if that's okay to use or not, because I've never used it. But since it doesn't call for jarred garlic, I just try not to use that. I'll just mince it here like this. I'm going to go on and put this on high just so it'll start heating up, because I do got to get going. Because we are going to bring this to a boil and cook all the sugar down. We're not done adding stuff yet. I'm going to make sure that we stir that up. I'm going to add 2 teaspoons of turmeric. It's just a hair bit more. I'm going to do a 1/2 teaspoon of cayenne pepper. 2 teaspoons of mustard seed. All right, now that's everything. So we're gonna stir this up, because I want this. It's gonna come up to a boil, which will take a little bit in this big pot here. But this thing has come up to a boil. And we wanna dissolve all the sugar. And then we're gonna add our jalapenos and cook them for about 3 minutes in it. And then we fill our jars. That's it. This also water bath. You're gonna water bath pan it for 15 minutes. Let's let this get good in. Good and bubbly. Okay, so this is all boiling up now. I just want to stir and make sure that all the sugar gets dissolved. That vinegar hits you hard, boy. You're breathing it in. Alright, so just let that boil for just a minute longer. And it says my jars are ready, which is perfect. I'm going to add my 4 pounds of jalapenos here. I'm going to stir it all in here. It makes me not able to breathe good. You'll see when you're making it. We're going to let this boil in here for just a couple minutes while I get my jars out and get them ready. Alright, so now I got my jars sitting out here. I'm just going to put my funnel on and I'm just going to start scooping these out and getting them in here. Yep. Somehow I got one with the cap. Actually, I think I might switch and use my other one. Switch and use this one. It's going to be a little bit too full. Get a little bit of that out. Alright. We'll have to fill it the rest of the way with the brine once I get this going in the jars. The turmeric gives it such a pretty color. Alright, and then, it's hard to see, I know. I'm going to just top it next with all the liquid. I want to bring the liquid up to pretty much where the jar starts to taper. Just under where the lid goes. And I'll do that with all of them. And then I'm going to take my little stick and put it in, just make sure there's no air bubbles going on. Right, the next thing you want to do is just take a clean rag that's damp, or you can dip it in vinegar and wipe around your rims to get anything sticky, anything to prevent it from sealing. You're also kind of feeling for any kind of little chip that might keep it from sealing as well. I actually did not have any of my sauce left, or the liquid. So I do have one jar empty here, so I will fill that with water so that my canner is full so that nothing bangs around and breaks. Alright, it's starting without me. It's ready for me to go. So I gotta hurry up. But then it's just put the lid in the rings. You just want to put it a little bit tight, not too tight. Put them in the canner. You're going to top it off with some water so that it covers the top of the jars. And then boom, you're done. You can come back and it'll be all done when I get back. Alright, so as soon as I get back from running Brooke up to the college, we need to get going. I will show you guys these pickled jalapenos. They'll be done waiting on me. Alright, I just got back and pulled these out. Here is our Cowboy candy. Now this gets better as it sits. So I wouldn't even eat on it until like Christmas time, because the longer it sits, the thicker the syrup and just the better it tastes. Alright you guys, it is 6 o'clock and I just got home. I'm gonna call it a day because I need to get this edited for you guys and get the boys situated because we just got back. And tomorrow morning I'll start off with canning the pickled jalapenos, and then we'll go from there. All right, bye everybody. Have a great day or night wherever you are, and thank you so much for watching.